Definitely not the same person today as when Bitcoin first came into my life. Fiat has screwed up people's lives so fucking bad because there's no truth in price anymore. And so I wanted something to be out there that was like, this is how I currently feel about greatness. And this is like my effort to pursue it. Take the hard path, do the hard work, just be great, prove it to yourself with your actions. Creativity as a business is going to be extremely important, as I said earlier, as things start to change, because we're really going to need creative people in the future, because we're all going to hodl all this Bitcoin and Bitcoin's going to go way up and do all this magical, amazing stuff. And you better fucking hope that there's a group of sophisticated and talented creators that can help you kind of bring the visions that you see and that you're now able to act on.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It's the easiest way to show your support and help the podcast grow, bringing great content to even more listeners like you. Plus, subscribing means you'll never miss an episode. And a big shout out to StampSeed for supporting the show. Their indestructible solution is perfect for protecting your Bitcoin seed phrase. Now, let's get to the reason you're here. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to Your Bitcoin Story podcast with your host, Gigi. Today, we have an exceptional episode lined up for you. Joining us is an incredible Bitcoin artist, A-Madex. A-Madex is an artistic endeavor devoted to the revival of human excellence and the unapologetic celebration of beauty as an enduring objective truth. In a world inundated with collectivist ideologies and performative altruism, A-Madex stands a bold counterpoint, a beacon of pro-capitalist values, rational thought, and individual freedom. In this episode, we'll explore how Bitcoin shaped A-Madex's creative process, the philosophy behind his work, lessons he's learned along his journey, and how art reflects Bitcoin's ethos. A-Madex, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on. And as I said, thank you very much for devoting some time, putting your markers and painting brushes to the side to come on and rip some Bitcoin talk on the show.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's been extremely busy coming into this year. And I get like huge piles of projects and things to do. And just as I get to the end of them, I'm thinking I'm going to be able to like have a little bit of a break, and then like a whole new barrage comes over me. So, which is good, I guess. Good problems to have.
No, for sure. And it just shows kind of how scarce time is, right? Everybody talks about the scarcity of Bitcoin, but like there's one thing that's more scarce than Bitcoin, and that's your time on this planet. So like allocating, your time to the things that you want to do, and like there's so many ideas that I totally get you. It gets hard to kind of prioritize what you focus on. So, but you're crushing it, man. Like what you've been doing over the last few years, and how you've been involving. I'm sure there's huge things that are yet to be done, but yeah, there's just one A-Madex and there's 24 hours in a day, but keep crushing it, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm working this year. I'm taking advantage of all the tools available to me to really, as you said, like time is extremely scarce and like my attention is extremely scarce. And so my plan is to access all of the resources that are available to me to maximize the output and create as much as I possibly can. I have always been slightly paranoid of death, but more recently, it's kind of as you get older, it seems to get closer. And I just want to make sure I leave as many masterworks, as many practice works, as many roadmaps and kind of bits of evidence for whoever I'm hopefully currently inspiring to kind of step into these artistic roles in the future. I think that with Bitcoin's impact on the world, that creative roles will really become extremely important again. I think that fiat has sort of wiped out the importance of creative roles, and that now with all this AI stuff happening, that it's kind of another assault, I guess, on creativity. But as we switch to a harder money and the majority of people's ideas about what they want to build and what they want to leave behind in their lifetime become more and more serious. I think we'll find a separation from the sort of AI world and a separation from building things that aren't meant to last, and we'll return back to like intensive projects that require thoughtful design and above all require like human care. So this is my goal for this year, is to just get as many of those example projects into production and produced for the coming years. I feel like I've got probably like 15 like hard year, maybe 15, 20 hard years of production. And with just me, it's very limited, but I'm putting together a team and bringing in a bunch of other talented people, and I'm hunting for talented tradespeople and talented creatives. So try and get like a Takashi Murakami sort of production facility going and really push forward.
Amazing. Now, just to kind of chip in on the AI thing, I totally agree. Like to a certain extent, AI feels like an extension of the fiat world, right? Like everything you can just put in a crappy prompt and everything spat out, and people are just not using their brains and their creativity, just relying on AI generated content, which is not the way this technology, at least to me, is meant to be used, right? It's to make your life easier and to help you produce more, not to kind of recreate things for you. And I think as we progress and more people use AI, the fact like what you're doing with your work, like it'll stand out even more. It'll be even more special because you're really putting in, your real proof of work and the thought behind it and the actual physical work. But I might be totally wrong. Who knows where this whole AI shenanigans take us? It's so early on.
Yeah. It's a great tool. Exactly what you say. It's just supposed to help, but it's not supposed to be
Replacing.
all of it. Yeah. And I think that it'll probably get better and better and better, but I've only just started recently not being able to recognize AI stuff on occasion, but for the most part, it's pretty like maybe that's like 1% of the stuff that comes out, but it's not, I guess it's not instantly recognize it. I have to kind of like look a little bit closer and then I can like see the signs that it's AI. But anyway, yeah, it's a big change. It's going to change a ton of stuff. I mean, it's where I really see the most impact is in writing. Definitely. Yeah, it's going to be strange. And like right now we've got tons of input for it, but in the future we'll run out of input and we'll need, new creative source to sort of help with it. I mean, it can create randomness. Yeah, exactly. It can create randomness, but it can't create like design really. Like it can make an image that is unique, but the reasons that is unique are randomized. They're not chosen for specific reasons.
Yeah.
And I think that's the huge difference currently between human touch and the AI.
For sure. I totally agree. So A-Madex, maybe like to kick things off for some listeners thinking, hey, Gigi, where's the origin story from A-Madex? Not to bust your bubble, but like A-Madex has been on so many podcasts sharing his origin story. So if you guys are curious of how A-Madex stumbled upon the orange rabbit hole, go out and check out the numerous other podcasts that A-Madex was on. On this one, we'll do it a little bit different. We'll go a little bit more philosophical, and I'm sure A-Madex has so many lessons and experiences that he can share, which will do much more valuable in this hour or so that we have him on the show. So maybe based on what you kind of just said, A-Madex, kind of how has your approach to life and creative process evolved over the past few years, and what have you learned from those changes?
Well, I mean, the main, and I think one of the first things that you start to experience as you get into Bitcoin deeper and deeper is your time preference adjusts. And you start to see everything with a really long time horizon. And that obviously has like a tremendous effect on creative output, because you kind of, you see the project you're working on today, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, and then that like adds like a critical layer, and that can actually kind of get in the way and like stop you from making stuff. And I feel like I was in that position for the last like probably 2 years or so, just really almost held back by that, because I forgot that the best way to create is through process. And the best way to make things is through process. You can't think your way to the end and have the same result as just trying and doing something and working on something. So I found myself in these weird sort of pushes where I'd come up with something really great that I thought was worth working on, and I'd put energy into it, and I'd have like a really great piece. But that would only kind of happen occasionally, and then the rest of the time was kind of just filled with like almost like a forced creativity, and also like unfortunately as an artist, like I'm also having to interact with the market, and I'm also having to like provide financing for A-Madex and for my own life and for my family and people I care about. So a lot of creative decisions become affected by finance. But recently I've kind of had I did I took a break from creating and did like some serious work on kind of my own processing and my own modeling, and found that really the answer is to just, instead of being concerned about wasting my time on making something that is maybe not as good as what I could be working on, I'm just the goal for this year is just to create as much as possible and always have that goal in place for it to be the best work that I can come up with, but to not be as critical and not sort of monitor and think about it as hard as I kind of have been in the past, because I find what happens is that, like I said, you get some really amazing pieces, and then you get a whole bunch of stuff that's just kind of made almost out of panic. And so this year I want sort of like a much more smoother, where I'm just in the habit of making constantly. And I say like I'll overproduce the work, and then I'll call out all the stuff that's not good enough. And so my goal, like I have a tweet that'll probably come out today, which is like my goal for this year is just to make more good art and less bad art. But yeah, I mean, Bitcoin has like, it totally finds itself, you find yourself thinking about it in like every single piece of your life. It forces you to take better care of yourself. It forces you to work on your character, because in order to like reach goals and reach higher, you have to become a better person, and you have to become more skilled. You have to be able to manage your emotions better, and you have to be able to interact with people better. And I think that art is kind of this plug-in to, it's sort of this description of the human experience. And I think one of the most important parts of that is to have really healthy relationships around you and to have really healthy connections, at least sort of for the work that I'm trying to do. I know there's like a ton of stories and histories of like loner artists and solo guys, but I think that the evidence is there that all like the best work, in my personal opinion, was all made with the help of great support and great teams, and great people around the creatives, especially other great creatives. Like one creative person is an excellent addition to any team, and if you have more than one and they're able to work together and they're able to not let their egos kind of get in the way, and be able to just focus on the goal of producing something really amazing, I think that's where the real treasure trove is for producing timeless work, and that's what I'm going to be kind of focusing on this year. But yeah, I'm definitely not the same person today as when Bitcoin first came into my life. And that's kind of what I think is the greatest offer about Bitcoin. Many will comment that they're not in it for the money. I'm definitely 100 million% in it for the money, because that's what's going to change all these systems and all these pieces, and also change my life, and also change my ability to do things. Money is just a fuel that you can, and I have built a sophisticated engine out of myself, and the money fuels its production and its output. And I'm really, really excited to have something that can continue to enable that ability for me to be a better person, take care of my family to a higher degree, organize cooler events, and create better work.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've put out a lot of potent stuff in their Madex. I totally agree. First, starting off with Bitcoin changing you, as the cliche quote goes, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And many of the things that you listed, that's kind of exactly what the world needs, because kind of the relationships are dying out. There's no respect in the world for people around you, and plus for people for themselves. And the deeper you go and the more you learn about Bitcoin, it's no pun intended. That was one painting that just fell over. I don't know, was that a sign from the guy above or? But anyways, as I mentioned, like it changes you to be a better person, and in your case, to kind of focus on your craft with 110%, which I think everybody, you are an artist, but other people that are, programmers, that are other content creators, Bitcoin gives you this kind of leap of faith to really focus on your craft and be the best that you can be in it, which is something that's missing in the fiat world, where it's all this rat race of just quantity over quality, just get things out and rolling, and we don't need those things. And to the other point, which you mentioned, kind of how you evolved with your process of getting the right people with you to fuel your machine, I 100% agree. Like, as you said, it can get overpowering being yourself, doing the paintings, dealing with the sales, dealing with all the communications, and like you need to solely focus on your craft instead of all the noise that's happening on the side. So I'm really happy to hear that you're crafting a killer dream team around you, because as the saying goes, teamwork makes the dream work. So I'm super excited to see everything that you're going to be rolling out over the year and beyond. I want to bring up another point, kind of unfortunate or maybe fortunate event that happened to you personally. I believe it was last summer or last winter, where you actually broke your leg, right? And that was a big thing, where that kind of put you to a halt. And how was that experience for you, and how has that changed you, kind of slowing down the time pace? Because I feel like you were just like, you were coming up to burnout. You're just like doing so many things, and then like bam, one snowboarding accident, and it just like the whole life comes to a halt. How was that experience to you?
Yeah, I guess, well, I broke my calcaneus bone in my foot, and it had to have surgery to get it all put back together. And it's a pretty lifelong injury. And yeah, I was just rolling, and then basically it all just stopped, went to zero. I was in bed for 4 weeks, and then started having to like learn how to walk again. Like not learn how to, but like teach my body to, and rebuild the muscles in my legs. And I mean, the major gift I got out of that was, before, I had been bringing in help on occasion, and I had been, but mostly doing everything myself. And I was just doing too much stuff that was not important for me to be doing in terms of like what A-Madex can offer to the world. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't do anything. And so I really realized the importance of like really putting together a good team, really having access to, because if anything like this was to ever happen again, and even like more serious, maybe I like lost my hands or something, then how would I be able to continue the goals I have, and how would I be able to ensure that A-Madex exists and brings what I want it to bring to the world? So I had to kind of rethink the entire project from the ground up. And I mean, I'd always been thinking about building A-Madex more as like, it's definitely more of a fashion house. Like, it started about me, the artist, but that's just because that's the only way I've been able to bootstrap it. But ideally, like within the next little while here, I'll have like, a head of art and a head of design, and then I'll just kind of be the overlord that selects and makes
Creative
sure,
director.
creative director, and put the projects together from a lot of input. Because like, I'm not, I have the skills I have, but there are many people out there who are far more talented than I am. And being able to be sort of like a conductor makes an orchestra, and versus kind of like a solo piano player. Like, both are really great, but an orchestra is just on a whole another level. So that had always kind of been my plan, but I'd been just really doing a lot myself, and really kind of focusing things around myself, because I didn't really have other options at that time, or at least I wasn't able to like see the other options clearly. And then once I was immobilized, it forced me to, it basically made me realize, okay, like this isn't the goal for 5 years from now. This is the goal for 1 year from now. As soon as possible to build this out, so that like, if anything were to ever happen to me, that there's instructions in place, and there's a business in place. And it can kind of continue on and provide for the world, and most importantly provide for my family and the people that I would leave behind. So that was a really great experience. And then also just kind of mentally a lot of not asking for help with stuff that I don't know how to do, and kind of getting in my own way about instead of like finding excitement in things I didn't know how to do, I would kind of feel ashamed of not knowing how to do it, which is totally ridiculous, and then would procrastinate on those things, or would feel embarrassed about looking for help and then just kind of ignore them. And there were kind of like all these little engine lights everywhere in my life that I was just ignoring. And then after that experience, I kind of have had to start paying attention to them one by one, and get things repaired. And really, I think that like all the like soloists, I call it like the soloist propaganda out there in the world, like the one man band man, like the one
One man
singer
show.
who is so incredible all on their own, or the one, you know, whatever it is, like there's just like this hiding of the teams that are behind these people that help them to succeed so well. And I think that that's like a purposefully done to discourage people from being bold and being creative. Like when you see like someone who's an amazing singer that's 21 years old, and then the whole like, now we know, definitely fake news, none of it is real, is pushing these like, oh, like this 14-year-old superstar, and now they're making it and they're doing tours and they're 14, and you're 21, so you'll never make it as an amazing singer. So then this person is never like encouraged to push their light into the world and to push their gifts into the world, because when they look out into the markets, it kind of seems like that they're not respected or not wanted in the market, which is just completely not true. That's just like fiat paralysis combined with some kind of horrible control mechanism that wants us to not be great and not build wealth and not be self-sufficient. So, and then especially with team making, like if you have these ideas in your head that like you just got to do it all of yourself and you want to do everything yourself, like nobody who is successful in any way has done that. None of them. They've all had support, and they've all built crews around them. And if you go out there and try just by yourself, like you're just not going to get very far. And it's going to be really fucking hard, and it's going to beat you up, and you'll probably just give up instead of just like asking for help and asking for the tools that would help you do what you do better. So I really want to nail that and just kind of take the pressure off of myself in terms of the doing everything, and build out into the world like I'm building a business. So this is and I guess I'm kind of rambling on a lot about this because it was like a serious obstacle for me. It like held me back for 10 fucking years. Like I definitely could have been Madex 10 years earlier had I just believed in myself, B like got together and collaborated, like building a band with the other really, really great people around me. And like, I missed out on like a lot of good business relationships and a lot of good partnerships just because I kind of thought that, oh, the only way that you'll be respected in the world is if you like did it all yourself, which is just totally ridiculous.
No, for sure. I mean, but it takes that journey and it takes that experience to come to that recollection, right? Like, I don't like to use that word like regret, like, because at the end of the day, at least you've come to this realization now than like 20 years in advance, right? You're still at, I don't know your age, and I don't have to, but like you're still very fairly young. So like you've got a lot of, still time, even though death is around the corner. Death is kind of the theme of this talk. But I like to, we'll get to the topic of death a little bit down the line. But just to point, like, I love what you're building, like elevating, Madex from just yourself as an artist to this whole brand, which will be catering to so many, many different avenues, and bringing in creatives to create incredible artworks together where, it's not just an amazing experience for you, but also giving them an opportunity to be a part of something great instead of going through this experience of this hustle of 10 years of trying to get somewhere and achieve something. But like joining forces, I think, it's a whole different level.
Yeah, and I had a ton of mentors when I was younger that helped me a lot, which was extremely great. I had one in particular, a man named John James, that kind of is pretty much the entire reason that I'm even here with you now. I was set on sort of like a path where I was going to go into engineering school and work on engineering projects. And then my friend John was in the process of becoming a rock star. And I kind of got this idea that I was like, okay, I can just hire engineers because the engineers have to know what to build. And I don't want to build stuff for other people. Like I want to build stuff for other people, but I don't want to, I want to come up with the design myself. That's like my
Hmm.
main skill is design. That is what I am, is a designer. And right now I'm called an artist and a Bitcoin artist, but really everything I'm making is designed. I'm not like getting totally drunk and crying my eyes out and smearing a bunch of fucking paint around. Like everything is engineered, calculated. The whole process of how the paintings come together is that I could write an instruction manual on how to make them. Yeah, so I ended up just kind of going rodeo and not doing really any school. I did 2 years of fashion design school and fashion business management, which was extremely helpful. And yeah, just I guess I kind of forgot why I brought John up in the first place, but
Having mentors, you said.
oh yeah, having mentors. Yeah. So that led me into this great path. And then what I suddenly realized like fairly recently is that like I'm doing it from my own standards, I'm doing horribly bad. I'm way behind schedule. I'm like a total, like nothing is going according to plan. But if I take a few seconds and just kind of get like an outside view, it's actually going really fucking well. And I'm extremely fucking good at what I do. And I'm very great. And I'm not helping anybody else that's younger than me with that journey themselves. And that became like kind of upsetting to me because when my friends started helping me, I was probably like 13 years old or something and had them for a
Wow.
long time. So I'm hoping that like through this process that I'll find like some younger artists and kind of in the way when you hear like really famous people had like connections to each other back in the past and like their
Hmm.
careers kind of started around each other. It's really common in music where you know you have like Dave Grohl was a part of the Kiss band and then the Kiss band split into Queens of the Stone Ages and the Foo Fighters and there's kind of these origin roots. So I really hope to kind of have that where some people can come and work for A-Madex for a couple years and it kind of is like they help A-Madex in that time period, but it's also like an education for them to go out and build their own ideas and build their own businesses. And I think like the model for creativity that I'm working on, like creativity as a business, is going to be extremely important, as I said earlier, as things start to change because we're really, really, really going to need creative people in the future because we're all going to hodl all this Bitcoin and Bitcoin's going to go way up and do all this magical, amazing stuff. And that's awesome. But then, like, what's the ultimate end goal of it is that you're going to want to make stuff. You're going to want to build stuff. You're going to want to design your own life in the way that you want to. And you better fucking hope that there's a group of sophisticated and talented creators that can help you kind of bring the visions that you see and that you're now able to act on because you have energy, you have the Bitcoin, so you can put the energy into those ideas. You better hope there's like a good gang of like extremely professional, talented and able creators around, which is why I kind of also have sort of an anti-hodl policy. Like I like hodl like 75% and just like live your life with passion and enjoy yourself with the other 25% because you could die at any moment and not you could die at any moment and then it's all gone anyways, so it doesn't matter. Or if you're not supporting the businesses and the people that you're going to want and need in the future, then you know, it's just going to suck. We're all going to be rich and we're going to have to like, there's just going to be a total talent shortage, a total skill shortage.
A quick message from our awesome partners at StampSeed. Future you is dependent on you. Don't let them down. Future you is set for life with Bitcoin, but only if you back up your seed phrase properly. No napkins, no phone notes, just StampSeed. Fireproof, waterproof, life-proof. Use BTC Story for 15% off at stampseed.com. Future you just fist bumped you. Don't mess this up. And now, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on that point. And, I also agree with the anti-hodl policy. Like, at the end of the day, our life is short. And as we said, like, death's around the corner. You never know. You're going to walk out tomorrow and get hit by a bus. So hodling for years and years and years and not actually enjoying your time here, I think it's a stupid thing of never sell your Bitcoin. Like, don't spend it all tomorrow, but like enjoy your life and buy the things that you really dreamt about. And that will make you happier. And to add to your point, in the future, with Bitcoin going to astronomical levels, you also want to, fill up your house with cool stuff, not with mass-produced things. So like, you need to spend your Bitcoin on something wisely, on that sense as well. But yeah, touching upon a little bit on the design aspect, as you said, you refer to yourself not as an artist, but as a designer. One kind of new design thing that you've been doing, which big fan of, and hopefully soon I will be wearing one as well. It's that beautiful pendant, the regalia that you have around your neck. I think you are one of the, sorry if I'm putting you in the Bitcoin artist category, but like you're the first one who's actually gone out to like a fashion thing where it's not just a t-shirt with a print on, but actually doing something in the jewelry business and catering both for women and female, which I think is kind of a first in this specific segment. Maybe you want to share a little bit. Is this something that you've had in the back of your mind for many years, or this is something that kind of recently you were like, you know what, like I just want to launch this? How did this idea come about?
Well, I mean, it's existed for a long time because I really just personally like jewelry, and I'm not able to find anything that's not total trash. So I've kind of always wanted to do it because I basically have not bought jewelry for a really long time, even though I like stuff. And sometimes I find things I like. Most of the stuff I found that I liked was just insanely expensive, like thousands of dollars. And then at being a designer, I knew that I could just make my own designs. But the main thing was it took a long time to figure out how to do it and find a person that I could do it with that had the experience of working with jewels and working with 3D elements and that had all the infrastructure, I guess, for it. So I kind of have had like, I've got pages and pages and pages of stuff designed, but I've just never had an outlet for it. And then also there's a cost to it that can get quite high. So it took a while. And then also like it took a while to build A-Madex to the point where I had like a bit of an audience and a bit of people who liked my stuff and liked the things I'm making. And it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't have made sense to take on inventory that early because in order to like make it economical, you kind of have to order like pretty big batches of these things and you want to be able to sell them. But yeah, I want things for the jewelry is entirely like a 1,000,000% selfish project because I want things for myself and I like to collect things like that. I am a collector person. I love to collect all kinds of stuff. And so the jewels fulfill that need for myself and then also give me the ability to wear stuff that I like. So, and then the main number one feedback I got as like an artist on this journey is that like people would see my stuff and really love it and be like, man, your fucking work's amazing. The art is amazing. I love your stuff, but like I don't have a house and like I travel around the world. And this is like a ton of fucking Bitcoiners. So over the years, I just got tons and tons of people saying this to me. And every time I was like, all right, well, eventually I'll do the jewelry. Eventually I'll do the jewelry. And then now finally it's here because then it's like, okay, well, you don't have a house, so you can't buy a painting. That's fair. But I got the whole suite of all this stuff. So and then the other thing is that like my clients are like fairly limited with art because you can only sell so many paintings to somebody.
True.
But you know, you can put 100 of these in a jewelry box. So it's the best way. It's the best thing for my lifestyle and for what I like because I'll have the jewels that I want. And then it's the best product to build a luxury designer brand around. And the best product to like kind of cash flow so that I can work on really masterpiece paintings that are really, really big. Because when I work on like a 45 by 72 inch canvas, those take fucking months, and there's very few buyers for those because the price is really high to compensate for it taking so long. So my ambition is that like Madex will be primary product will be known for jewelry and other accoutrements. And then kind of like the flagship center of the project is like the paintings. In the same way that Hermes started with saddles and bridal gear, and then eventually evolved into all the stuff that we see today. That's kind of my vision for Madex, is that it started with art and then it evolved into the jewels, and then we'll kind of see whatever else we make. The next thing I have coming that I'm really excited about are these DuPonts. This is an SD DuPont lighter that is solid gold. And this is just one that I just got that is going into production, and they'll be Madex edition DuPonts.
Wow.
I'm really excited about those.
That's amazing. Now, I'm familiar with them because my dad was an avid cigar lover, and he also loved DuPont. So he had one, not a solid gold one, but I've played around, and like having it in your hand, it's like a hefty thing. It's not just another lighter, like it's something special.
Yeah, they're super heavy, and they're extremely well designed, and they're going to be like one of the central products this year. I think they'll probably be out in like a month or two. I think I finally got like enough of that. I've been collecting them slowly and finding them, and because the new ones are quite expensive to buy. But the idea is these. I have this kind of collection of vintage ones that will become custom Madex ones. And then once those are kind of selling, I'll move on to the brand new ones that have like the dual flame and the torch and all that kind of stuff. But they're really an important symbol to me because just of how well they're made and how carefully crafted they are, and how just everything about them is engineered and designed so well, and it's so elegant. And just many could argue that like, oh well, a Bic lighter accomplishes the exact same task, and it's true.
Or
It's
a
like, hey, you
Zippo.
can just have, or a Zippo, you can just have a Bic lighter or a Zippo. But like, we are fucking great. Why have cheap Bics? Like, we're fucking incredible. Like, look at the stuff that humanity has built. Look at the things that we've made. And like, I think that like every single kind of component in like a good hard money standard, if we look back onto the gold standard or we look future onto a Bitcoin standard, everything you fucking have should be amazing and fucking great. And like, the only things that should be disposable are the things which that's just what they are, is disposable. Extremely good. Like this is something that's gone away. We used to have beautiful like cutlery all the time. Everything was just every component of like a home was well made, and that's obviously been totally wiped out by like the fiat mass manufacturing. And I just want Madex to be something that kind of works to bring that stuff back. And then also what's been happening recently, which is fucked up, is that like designer brands, like what fiat does is that like a brand earns its reputation and it earns its high price by being an extremely high quality product and being like thoroughly engineered and extremely well made. But what fiat has done is come into these historically great designer brands. I know a lot of Bitcoiners turn their nose up at designer brands, but that's what fiat has done to them. What they are originally is just extremely well made product, and then fiat guts out all of the quality and rides the brand until it dies. So it just keeps the fiat. What they have to do is, produce their value to the investors and all that stuff. So they'll just keep cutting costs and gutting the product quality to make the stock go higher and higher and make the profits go higher and higher. And then eventually, like, you just end up with crap product, but it's like from a former fashion house that's like, a couple 100 years old, and it just doesn't, it's just really sad. It's really a shame that that's happening. But as we go back onto a Bitcoin standard, that's going to fucking change, because you'll have to verify that like the quality of what you're making is extremely high. And on top of that, like the market will just not support you if what you're making is crap. So your business just will no longer exist. Whereas right now, like the businesses are propped up by the infinity money and also propped up by there's no real alternatives. So designer brands are just totally fucked up right now. And I'm hoping that A-Madex can help to kind of like bring them back. And maybe one day I can get big enough to be like an LVMH sort of conglomerate and like acquire a bunch of these companies and then like do the opposite. Like the goal of this project is we want to make less money and we want to make better fucking product. And if we want to make more money, that's done through marketing and reach and actual projects instead of just like taking away standards of quality and reducing quality standards. That would be really cool. So
let's fucking go, A-Madex. I'm all for
Bitcoin
that,
go up, sell a bunch of stuff.
A-Madex is after your companies and he's about to revive them 180 to making them great again. I can totally relate with you on what you said, A-Madex, and especially I agree with you. Luxury brands are and fashion houses are not the sweet talking point of Bitcoiners, but each to his own. But like you mentioned one brand specifically, Hermes, which most people don't know that Hermes still to this day, it's I think it's over 250 years old and it's still a family owned business.
Yeah.
It never sold out to shareholders. Their stuff is extremely, like the Birkin bags are 25,000 for a reason, not just because it's a name, but like when you hold that product in your hand and you see what's gone through it and how long they've been doing it for and keeping up the standard. At the end of the day, it's not even that expensive because fiat is just deflating. So unfortunately, where we live in, especially in fashion, which I feel like is an industry that's close to your heart, fast fashion, that the Zaras of the world and H&Ms, they have totally changed the consumer, thought of why should I go to a designer house and spend like $300-$500 on a top when I can go to like a high street and get something for $30. But then that crap after one wash looks like dog shit. And then, you're constantly going back. And then what's even worse, what people don't think about is how that's ruining our planet, because we have these sweatshops out in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Most cases, a lot of kids, instead of getting an education and working on their hobbies and crafts that they want to perfect, they're making this crappy product to sell to the West, which doesn't really care about them, wears it for a day, throws them out. And at the end of the day, as you said, A-Madex, it's all for the shareholder greed. Like, how much are we getting back? What dividends are we getting payment? And this whole fiat ethos, it's like a cancer, which it's crazy that the average person on the street doesn't realize how fiat is ruining everything. And the beauty of stuff, as you said, this is another super big point. The architecture, walking around, cities nowadays, in modern cities, it's all just glass, steel, and there's no beauty in it. I live in I don't know if you know this, but I live in St. Petersburg, Russia, which is like the Russian Venice of city. And like the building I'm recording this podcast from, it's nearly 230 years old. Like if you look on my ceiling, you've got like, the plaster, which was done in 1800s. And like that to me is beauty. Some people might say, well, that's an old ass house. Who really cares about the streets? But then like some historical cities, or if you go in Rome or Prague, or there's many different places where you walk through the cities and you see the beautiful craftsmanship that took so long to build and it lasts forever. It's still here today. Whereas most of the modern architecture, within 2 years, everything starts cracking, you get mold everywhere, and it just doesn't last. So I'm really hoping we get to this Bitcoin gold standard and we kind of go back to everybody creating shit that lasts and is meaningful to everyone instead of just chasing that quick buck. So I fully agree with everything you said.
Yeah, definitely. I think like everything on fiat has, like all human spaces on fiat have devolved to like prison cells. Thinking all the new condos that are built, all the new houses that are built, like the bedrooms are just boxes, and like every component of it is just a box. And like I don't know if maybe it's from not spending time in those places and things like that, but like because some people say they don't care about things like that, but it's just like I cannot believe that that's a true comment to make on it, because if I put you into like a several 100-year-old hotel lobby that has been well looked after, well maintained, and like modernized to within reason, and then I put you into one of these kind of prison cell box lobbies, I don't think that there's like, a person that can like say, like a Bitcoin person that can say they would rather be in the jail cell and that they don't. It's like there. I think that the environment that you're in is just extremely important to every kind of piece of your quality of life. Like your whole life is this movie, and you want to you want it to be colored and you want it to be filled with beauty, and that we have removed that to such an extreme degree is really upsetting. And it's definitely a huge motivation I have to figure out ways to spend more time in Europe in some of these places. Unfortunately, Europe is getting so screwed up, but I would love, before all that fucking stupid war shit started happening, I had a trip planned to come to Moscow, and I was going to spend 3 weeks in Moscow just taking in the city. And I really am excited to do that again sometime in the future, and to spend time in these like fucking old and important places and just get some of that sort of inspiration, because it is lost in so many ways in America and around the world, and it's really a shame. It makes a huge positive impact in your life to be in a space that that has that sort of energy. Even something as simple now, like I cannot stay in a place, like if you're out there like looking for an apartment to move into or something, like find one that has like real wood beams or like old wood floors, or has, and like it'll make a huge difference in your quality of life, like to put that space together versus like these crap, you know drywall, like I say, prison cells. It really makes a difference. So, and and having that, like you making that market choice for yourself to be in those spaces. Ideally, the market signals are so fucking corrupt right now that it probably won't make much of an impact. But eventually, like there are enough people that are demanding these kind of spaces to be what they're willing to live in, then that in theory incentivize the market to produce more spaces that are like that. Once we can get all this
True.
garbage out of the system and actually like get the correct information from human decisions, I'm looking forward to that.
Me too, amen, man. Like I agree with you. If there would be more demand for this stuff, and we Bitcoiners to a certain extent, we like we stand by what we want, like, and I'm hoping that people, stand up and say, I'm sick of this bullshit stuff that's being built around. Like, I want something, that speaks to me, and I want to cherish and I want to pass down to my kids, and not just live for a decade if I'm lucky, and then move to a new, as you say, it's literally a prison box. They're just boxes with no design, no integrity, no love, no nothing. But yet that's what you get on a fiat standard. So like it's pretty easy, to tell a no coiner like the difference between a Bitcoin standard. Go see things that have lasted centuries, and then on the fiat standard things that last a year or two and just turn to shit. But we'll see. Back to your story of visiting this part of the world, like my dad always said, good things and bad things always come to an end. So I'm hoping that this whole bullshit at the border comes. Hopefully now with Trump, he's signing a lot of executive orders. Hopefully he also gets the two leaders together and says, guys, let's come to an agreement. Let's turn the page and actually let people live. And because it's crazy that the ordinary person, no matter where you live in the world, you have no choice. Like leaders decide on your faith, what you can do, how you can transact, who you can communicate with. It's insane where we're so connected with the internet, and now with Bitcoin, thankfully no government, no party, nobody can sanction those transactions. But there's much more than just Bitcoin. People are suffering once again for the fiat greed, for the industrial complex of creating these weapons, selling them off all over the world, which on a Bitcoin standard, I think it's going to be very hard for these corrupt companies to be building all this shit, which at the end of the day, it's just enriching them and destroying people's lives. But anyways, I don't want to delve down too much down that death path. I want to bring up another super inspiring thing that you released in the last 12 months. I believe it was about 6 months ago. You released your A-Madex Manifesto, which was a masterpiece videography and kind of your story of kind of what you're building and the legacy you're putting behind. Anyone listening, definitely after this episode, go to YouTube, check out A-Madex Manifesto. You're not going to regret it. It's done incredibly. But what inspired you to do that, and kind of how did that come about? Was this also another thing that you wanted to do for a while and you didn't know when, or that was kind of after your accident, you were like, let me time is scarce. Let me leave something behind, like a message for if something happens tomorrow.
Yeah, like it started a long time ago. I've always wanted to be heavily involved in film, but then you're limited by your energy, Bitcoin. You're limited by your cash flows. So it just took a long time to kind of manifest, but it was made as I get it. Like, what am I all about? What is this project all about? And what am I working to kind of communicate to the world? And also, like, what is a baseline for myself to kind of look at projects and then kind of run them by my baseline and be like, okay, is this in line with this? And so that kind of led to its creation. And I feel like it's the first piece of something that I think is really important to have that message sort of out there. And it made me feel a lot more comfortable about, like, if something happened to me, that, okay, at least that like piece of content is out that's like, hey, like, take the hard path, do the hard work, just be great, and like let yourself be great and prove it to yourself with your actions. And like, we're all smart enough to know where we're fucking up and where we're making mistakes, and like, you can just stop making those mistakes. You can just change that, and you can figure out what your principles are and align the rest of your life around those principles, and you can touch back on them and use them as like a reference for your decision making. It's like kind of your foundation for the character and the person that you are. And you can just figure out what those are, and then kind of step into that. I think we're all like on this journey of kind of the person we are, the person we were in the past, and the person we want to be in the future. And I think about that line a lot. That's like, hell is when you die, you meet the person that you could have become. Like, if you weren't fucking lazy, or if you weren't fucking scared, or if you had courage, and you had energy to kind of make the moves and try things. And I think we kind of forget how like little mistakes really matter, and we're really worried about kind of like what other people think about us, and it kind of prevents us and stops us from taking chances. And I think that, like, in my life, I've always been like pretty fucking insane, and at this point I'm just stepping really, really hard into it. And I like was saying to my friend at dinner the other night, I said, like, have you really any idea how fucking completely crazy I am? And my example I gave is that, like, I'm currently driving around with like a Lamborghini Huracan like zip tied to the hood of my fucking car. And it's like one of the greatest fucking things ever, because like Bitcoin has treated me really fucking well. And being pulling up like next to cars and intersections and stuff, like, my windows aren't tinted. You can just see this like scale like supercar sitting on the dash. And like, it's a hilarious like mental exercise for me, in terms of like remembering that like life is very serious, but it's also about having fucking fun.
Fun.
And like, the two frames for life are either comedy or tragedy, but you can just run both systems at the same time. And like, you can go through tragedy and you can go through kind of the seriousness of life, while also like appreciating it and appreciating the comedy and kind of the light of the story that it holds. And I just I want to be myself as to the highest degree that I possibly can, and I want to encourage others to also step into that and find themselves as a person and as a character. And then also, what the manifesto is, what I hope like kind of builds that spirit and that energy. And then of course it's mostly focused on output, which is like, don't restrict your output, don't restrict your ideas, but do what's true to yourself and what you know is right. I think we're all pretty clear on that, especially in Bitcoin, we're all pretty clear on it, despite what fiat has done to most people. Like, fiat has screwed up people's lives so fucking bad, because there's no truth in price anymore. All the market signals are distorted. All the feedback from your family structure, from your friends, is totally messed up. And so I wanted something to be out there that was like, okay, like, you know, this is how I currently feel about greatness, and this is like my effort to pursue it. And I think that that's like the highest path to take in a life. And so the follow-ups to the manifesto are in the works, and they'll sort of be different. I want to just keep kind of going with this style of like a short essay with different film assets, because I think that like a lot of the stuff, a lot of the signals that I'm working to communicate, a lot of the information I'm working to communicate is just lost in this fiat mess.
And this noise,
And
constant noise.
yeah, I want to do what I can to just like hold these values, which I think built the civilization that we're in, that built like the Library of Alexandria, that built the cathedrals, that built the bridges, that built the whole world that we're able to enjoy ourselves in for the most part. I think that these values are enabled that and made that possible. So the manifesto is kind of the first step into that one. The next one I'm making is like a little bit less pointing, a little bit less referencing, I guess, like crypto projects, and it's more like broad because I want it to apply to more people. Because when I was sending this thing out, trying to market it to like every single person I knew, like I realized that it was kind of niche. You kind of had to be in Bitcoin to like understand some of the points. So the next one, I want it to be like a little bit more broad, but still communicate sort of the same messages and some of the things I just said. It was really funny though. Like I had this whole interaction with David Bailey from Bitcoin Magazine where he wanted to do ordinals of A-Madex, and I just told him no very
Saw that.
dramatically. And you know, that took like whatever, it's like a 2-minute video and like no effort to make that. It took a couple takes because I wanted it to be just the right level of cringe and also awesome at the same time, so that I could like trigger both, like trigger the haters and trigger like the people who think it's awesome. So it took a couple tries to like get that balance right. And then that video got like fucking several 100,000 views and like exploded across all of Twitter. And then I like put like basically 5 years of energy into the manifesto, and the manifesto, like, you know, it got pretty good response, but like nowhere near what like the video with no effort got. And I thought that was just a really funny illustration of what's going on with the world right now and where we are with the fiat stuff. So I'm thinking it might catch sometime in the future at a random time and get like more people kind of looking at it. And as I build like more of the series videos out, but yeah, I'm really proud of it. I'm happy it exists. And like, if I was to no longer be here, that would be the first message, at least, that, you know, I think is important, that I'd want like my kids and my family to kind of remember me by, I guess.
No, for sure. You know, to your point with like, at the end of the day, the algos, you know, online command what gets eyeballs and what doesn't. And, you know, controversy is always, you know, kind of the hotter topic. Yeah, I believe before jumping on the show, I think I checked because I was just curious to see like how many people saw it. And I think on X, it's around like 65, like 70,000. And I was like, wow, like that's it? Like I was expecting like hundreds of thousands, because like the quality of it and like the message that you get across it, like I would expect people to share it on, but like, and then as you said, like the David Bailey reply about the ordinals, like got like nearly 1 million, basically 10x on X.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Like, but who knows? As you said, maybe down the road, you know, it'll catch up. At the end of the day, you didn't create that to get 1 million views on X. You left, as you said, to leave the message behind, which is the important part.
Yeah, definitely. But if you're listening to this, like, definitely watch it. And if you enjoy it, please share it with as many people as you can, because I think the message is important. And then it also, the more people that discover A-Madex and that are interested in my art and that support me through sales and that support me through views and follows and all that kind of stuff, it just helps me to be able to make more stuff, more videos, more content, more product, really push what I believe into the world.
For sure. And get a deeper meaning after watching that, seeing your artwork. You see it with a different pair of glasses on. You kind of feel what's gone into the artwork. It's just not another artist, as you said, like splattering some paint and, you know, going over the things. But like there's a lot of thought and a lot of meaning behind each piece that you create. A-Madex, usually, did you want to add some other points, or you want me to kind of round that up? I have one last question. Some points that you think you wanted to elaborate, or anything else you wanted to bring up, because we talked about quite a few things. Was there anything else in mind that you wanted to bring up?
No, not really. I think we covered like a lot of stuff. I'm in this sort of, I haven't had any like drastically new insight lately. So I think what we talked about is great. Yeah, I would just say that like Bitcoin is the opportunity to like really get your shit together and really put trust in yourself and believe in yourself and really a base to access the tools and gifts that you have, within your mind, within your body, within your environment, within your circles and relationships. Just put it all to good use. Don't waste this time that we have. Like really make the most out of the time that you have. That's the most important thing. So yeah, what's the last question?
I'll tell you in a second, but it sounds like Bitcoin's your second chance. Like if things haven't gone right in life, like studying Bitcoin, it'll reset you on the right path, hopefully. But the last question that I usually do to the guests, you answered it. It's like A-Madex, you read my mind, but like usually ask the guests, what is one piece of advice you would leave to people that are only starting their Bitcoin journey? But you already answered that. But
Yeah,
anyways, I
yeah.
was
Well,
going
I
to
mean,
ask.
the most important piece of fucking advice to anyone just starting the Bitcoin journey is respect the fucking Bitcoins. Respect the
Nice.
coins. Like, do not fuck around with those coins. Anybody that I'm onboarding, which is very rare lately, so it's like people I really care about. The most important message I communicate is like, buy the fucking coins, whatever you can afford, whatever you feel comfortable buying, and just keep fucking buying and just don't fucking touch them. Just as if you're like going to the casino and losing the money. Like just forget about it. Like do not calculate the bitcoins you have in your net worth. Do not think about them when Bitcoin goes through huge pumps. Don't think about all the stuff you're going to like, just fucking hold on as long as you can. And then obviously, make sure that what you do use them for, if you're in a situation, just really weigh that out and like really ask yourself if that's actually something you need. Like I drive around in like a 2003 vehicle. I apply frugality to my life in as many ways as I can that make sense.
Hmm.
Where I don't apply frugality is to experiences with friends and like really good food. But in terms of like, there's just a lot of things that you can convince yourself that you really need, but maybe you actually don't. And so, yeah, respect the coins and just make damn sure. My advice is to forget about them for at least 1 or 2 cycles. And if you have to use them, just make sure it's something that's like damn fucking important. Because every time I have ever used Bitcoin for anything, it's been, even if I don't regret it, it's painful.
Thinking back. So
Yeah.
that's some solid advice. So everybody listening who's only starting, just stack your sats, put them in cold storage, and forget about them. I think that's a solid piece of advice. But the question I wanted to round that up with, instead of telling other people what's one piece of advice, A-Madex, what's one piece of advice you would give your past self based on everything you've been through these years, these 10 years?
Just, you can do it. That would be my fast self advice. Like, it's possible and
Don't
you can
doubt in
do it.
yourself.
Don't be scared. I like competence, courage, and yeah, competence and courage are just so, they support each other. If you just, yeah, I'm trying to find the ways to explain it. Like, just don't be fucking lazy and do the fucking work that you got to do, and don't complain about things that are hard. And like, when things are hard, like, you are extremely talented and capable and smart. You can do the things that are hard. And like, no matter what's going on in life, like, the no matter how in the position of doing something you love you are, there will always be really hard, really annoying stuff that sucks. And at best, it's probably going to be 70% of the workflow. And just like, don't fucking complain about it and just do the fucking hard stuff. And
Keep pushing.
yeah, have courage, and then have competence, and that'll bring clarity, that'll bring results. And so that would be my advice, is like, just believe in yourself and fucking work hard. Because
Nice.
I wasted a lot of time just like not really thinking that where I am today was possible. And I wasted a lot of time like concerned whether I was good enough to live out my dreams. And then what I've come to realize is that it doesn't fucking matter at all. You just fucking do the work and see what happens and enjoy the ride. But yeah, definitely don't let don't let laziness and bad habits and especially like negative crap like depression and all that kind of stuff, like find the roots of like what's making you depressed, what's making you slow down, what's making you like steer away from things that you probably instinctively like know you want to work on, want to dedicate your life to, and just like push through and find a way, because there definitely is a way. And like the more energy you put into it, and you strip out the weight and strip out, you know, bad people around you, bad energy inside of you, bad ideas inside of you, and just focus on like the light and the greatness that I believe that like we definitely have inside of all of us.
Incredible. Once again, thanks for sharing all of those wisdom and those greatness words. I mean, there's so much like high signal, not Bitcoin signal, but like high get your shit together signal in this talk. A-Madex, I would love to thank you so much for coming on. Everybody listening, definitely go check out and support A-Madex. Visit madex.art to buy some incredible artwork. If you want the regalia and wear the piece around the world, you can get that from the website and see there's a lot of upcoming things, like one of the things that A-Madex mentioned with custom DuPont lighters, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other things coming. A-Madex, anywhere else you would like to send the listeners to follow you and support your work?
Yeah, if you're in Europe, I'm a partner and creative director in Bull Bitcoin. I dedicate a lot of my creative energy to the success of Bull Bitcoin, and we just launched in Europe. So we're functioning, the services we offer in Canada are now functioning in Europe.
Amazing.
Which is the bill payment and sort of exchange services. So check out Bull Bitcoin if you're in Europe. And then my website for distributing art is madex.art. And I'm on Twitter at Spacebull. And yeah, those are my two primary projects. So ensuring that Bull Bitcoin can be the best Bitcoin company in the world in terms of providing services to actually engage with Bitcoin in your day-to-day life, and ensuring that A-Madex grows and inspires more creative energy and better business and better products and just better everything. More life, more better everything.
Amazing. Yeah, but Bull Bitcoin, we didn't even mention it. I guess to all the listeners, the other pods that you'll be listening to A-Madex's origin story, you'll hear more about Bull Bitcoin, but this was more about, you know, the how to be great and how to revive the better world that we all want to live in. A-Madex, once again, thanks for everything you're doing. Best of luck to you and your team with everything you're about to do in the coming months and coming years. And I hope to see you somewhere around the world in one of the upcoming conferences. And hopefully in time, I'm still waiting to get my own A-Madex piece to add it on the studio wall. The timing will be right. But yeah, until then, all the best, my friend. And yeah, I hope to have you on the show back in the future, because our journeys are only getting started. There's a lot more to be created and to be said. So until next time, A-Madex.
Yeah, great, man. Thank you very much for having me. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So cheers.
Thank you for tuning in. If this episode resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit too. Your support keeps us going, and we appreciate it. See you in the next one.